What up, my babies? It's me, the Angelo. Welcome to another episode of Dank Times, Danker Thoughts, episode 103. I'm here with Lafonda. I know, Lafonda, you got plenty of followers here. Give a couple shout outs. All right, enough of that. This is my podcast, not yours. Although, the litter box would be a good name for a podcast run by cats. All right, Lafonda, chill. Chill. Chill, bitch. One of the best lines from Taxi Driver. Anyway, on this episode, we're going to keep it a little light. Going to do a little bit of news stories. Don't have anything that personal to talk about since last podcast. Not much has changed with your boy here. We're going to talk a little bit sports. We're about a week away from the NFL draft. The Seattle Mariners are 7-5. And I rewatched The Batman. Was it as good as the first time? But let's get into it here. This may be cause for celebration for some of you, consternation for others. Florida judge voids the U.S. mask mandate for planes and public transportation and other travel. This is from the Associated Press, being read from the Seattle Times. A federal judge in Florida struck down a national mask mandate on airplanes and mass transit, and airlines and airports swiftly began repealing the requirements that passengers wear face coverings. The judge's decision freed airlines, airports, and mass transit systems to make their own decisions about mask requirements, resulting in a mix of responses. The major airlines switched to a mask optional policy, with some eliciting cheers from passengers when the changes were announced over loudspeakers. The Transportation Security Administration said that it will no longer enforce the mask requirement, and airports in Houston and Dallas almost immediately did away with their mandates after the TSA announcement. LA International Airport, the world's fifth largest by passenger volume, also dropped its mandate, but the CDC continues to recommend masking on transportation. And I think that's good advice, LAX spokesman Heath Montgomery said. Sleepy passengers on a Delta Airlines flight between Atlanta and Barcelona, Spain, cheered and applauded when a flight attendant announced the news mid-flight over the ocean. No one's any happier than we are, the attendant said in a video posted by Dylan Thomas, a CBS Denver reporter who was on the flight. She added that people who wanted to keep on their masks were encouraged to do so, but we're ready to give them up, she added. So thank you and happy Unmasking Day. New York City public transit system planned to keep its mask requirement in place. The Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority said it would make masks optional for riders on its buses and trains. The Association of Flight Attendants, the nation's largest union of cabin crews, well, there only has to be like 5 of those unions, so I would imagine it's the biggest one, has taken a neutral position on the mask rule because its members are divided about the issue. The union's president appealed for calm on planes and in airports. The last thing we need for workers on the front lines or passengers traveling today is confusion and chaos. So, my personal opinion on this is good. I think we probably should have lifted this at least 2 months ago once the Omicron wave died down. And now we do have this new variant, something with a B, Boise, Boinkin, Blinken, Beelzebub, something. I don't remember the name. But it's even weaker than Omicron based on the early reporting. But then again, that could change overnight. I don't really know. But my whole stance about masks and vaccines have been this. If the number of cases of infection are relatively staying the same, but deaths are going down, then you can do away with them and have them be optional. Because I think the big point of emphasis for me is deaths. It's up to people to make their mind up whether or not they're going to get vaccinated or going to wear a mask. At this point, if you're not vaccinated against COVID, I don't feel bad for you if you get infected and you get seriously ill or die. It's hard for me to feel bad for you. I feel compassion and empathy for your friends and family, but odds are you didn't have many of them to begin with. I kid, kind of. And so it's hard for me to feel for them is my point. So For the rest of us that follow the rules, followed common sense, you got your booster, you got your vax, and, if I'm going to be around a lot of elderly fat fuck people, well, then yes, I'll probably wear a mask if I'm going into a busy area. But, the mass majority of the time, myself, coming from my perspective here, I'm not around a lot of those people. So I haven't been wearing a mask for some time. Now, when I take the old man out, I ask him if he wants me to wear a mask. He doesn't give a fuck. He wears his. I usually don't, depending on where we go. However, when I visited my mom, I wore my mask because she lives in a community with a bunch of senior citizens who are fat fucks and unhealthy. So yeah, that makes sense to wear one. So I think at this point we can all be adults. And being on an airplane, I understand that you probably have a higher risk of catching COVID on an airplane. But it's strange because I haven't been on a plane since the pandemic, but I know a lot of people that have. You have to keep your mask on the entire time unless you're eating or drinking something. Well, then it defeats the purpose. They shouldn't be serving food or drink. You should have to wear your mask the entire time. Taking it down to eat or drink, well, then there you go. You're limiting your risk of getting exposed, sure, but still, you're going to catch it. That fucking air is recycled, and that air is so disgusting. I have not flown on a plane traveling more than 6 hours and not gotten off the air. Yes, Lafonda, you're making me lose my train of thought here. Anyways, I've been on long flights and I always feel like shit getting off them. It's because that goddamn air recycling. Lafonda, you wouldn't know. You've never been on a plane. Not in this lifetime, anyway. Anyway, so I approve and agree with this. But hold your horses. The Biden administration that day referred to the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice said, we will appeal this if the CDC recommends that masks should be a requirement on public transport and on airplanes. But my thinking was when I heard that, well, the CDC, there's probably a lot of people there that have self-interests and are lobbyists or, a little sketchy. They probably wanted to continue, but surely they're in the minority. They're still scientists for the most part at the CDC. The Department of Justice is still a bunch of judges and lawyers. These are supposedly the cream of the crop of society. So let me go ahead and read this headline. The Department of Justice is going to appeal the federal mask mandate struck down in Florida because the CDC says masking is still necessary. Oh boy. Well, here comes another dogfight. And this is from USA Today. The CDC has determined that its order requiring masking on planes and other public transit is still needed, setting in motion a Justice Department appeal of a federal court decision that overturned the mandate. It is CDC's continuing assessment that at this time, an order requiring masking in the indoor transportation corridor remains necessary for the public health, the agency said in a statement Wednesday. CDC will continue to monitor public health conditions to determine whether such an order remains necessary. CDC believes that this is a lawful order well within CDC's legal authority to protect public health. Following the statement, the Justice Department immediately filed a notion of appeal. So, this isn't going to go over well. This is not going to go over well. The airlines themselves pushed back and said that the mandates aren't needed anymore. And honestly, I would like to know, what are the mask mandates in Europe regarding, I guess I should spell the word regarding, right? Regarding air travel. Let's see. I just want to see what they're doing. Oh, some European airlines lift mask mandates on transatlantic flights. Oh, that's because that was when they lifted the Florida judge lifted it. Let's see. Well, it looks like it's a little mixed. Several European airlines update their mask policy following. Okay, well, I don't really know. It's not an easy answer here, besides one that's saying it's kind of mixed. Again, as long as they're using accurate data, but I don't know. I'm trying to see it from both sides. I guess if you're going to have to wear a mask for a long period of time, it should be in the event where you're in enclosed spaces, packed in like sardines, and that is mass transit, public transportation, airlines, you name it. That is an area where, unless it's not a sold out trip, which I don't remember the last time I was on public transport or an airplane and we weren't jammed in there. So I guess in that sense, if you're going to force people to wear a mask, that would be the place to do it. But again, if the science is showing that deaths are down, extreme cases are down, and yeah, maybe infection rates are steady or going up, but they're mild cases, and that kind of flows in the face of that science that's promoting masks. Well, let's see. Current COVID rates. Oh, I guess I should put US. I'm going to get the world here. Oh, yeah, we're way down. Way down. Holy shit. That's not bad at all. Hold on a minute. Is this, well, how recently is this? Let's do new cases in America, last 30 days. Okay, so we're hovering well under 30,000 through March. Okay, then we spiked a little bit. Okay, but we're only hovering about 60,000. But I need to see deaths, baby. I want to see deaths. So if you're getting the average, let's just do April here. What's the average for April? Roughly 60,000. Okay, well, let's do deaths. Oh my God, they're going down. They're going down. Since March, they've been going down. I don't know, man. It just seems to me if serious cases and deaths have been going down, even during this new variant. By the way, what is the new variant of COVID? What is that shit called? What, it doesn't have a name? Tisk. BA2? Oh, that's the name? BA2? Dumb as fuck. It's just a variant of the Omicron variant. So now we got subvariants. Oh, Jesus Christ. But anyway, to wrap up this mask mandate on air travel, whatever policy, when it initially got reported, immediately, because the judge was appointed by Donald Trump, that got thrown in the judge's face. Oh, it's just more Republican anti-science nonsense, blah, 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 blah. But no. You can't blame Trump for everything, Democrats. You just can't. And Republicans, you can't blame Biden for everything, okay? For the love of God. It's so lazy. And the people that listen are even stupider than I thought. But my point being, if the science doesn't back up the CDC, and the CDC says, well, we're science first, well, then who are you going to believe? That's the problem. That's why in some households, Fauci is a hero. In some households, he's a Satan. I personally think he's human. He's got his faults, but he also has his praises. To me, he's a human being, and he's 50-50 with me. I will listen to his advice, but sometimes when he gives his advice, I think, that's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So what to do? So you have to follow, I guess, the best information you can at any given time. And to me, deaths are down, serious cases are down. It's not needed. However, if you're going to have it in an environment, you better have it where you have the fattest, most unhealthiest nation in the world crammed together in little tiny areas like airplanes, like trains, like buses, like subways. We're shoved in there. And for those of you that have been on public transit, you see the people that take it. 9 out of 10 of them look like they belong under a bridge. So it's probably not the healthiest people to begin with. So I can understand if you're going to force a mandate on people, it better be in an environment where it's higher chance of catching COVID. And I would say outside of sticking your tongue in someone's asshole, vagina, or mouth that currently has COVID, you probably have a better chance of catching it at a public transit or in an airplane. So I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it personally. I can't really give you my concrete answer because I don't know. I just don't know. And I think it's okay to have a I don't know opinion on things. You don't have to say yes or no, or I agree, I disagree on everything. If you truly don't know, it's okay to admit it. And if people call you a flip-flopper, they push you to make a decision, they're idiots. They have their own insecurities. Worry about them. Anyway, let's move on to a fun story. Biden to require U.S.-made steel and iron for infrastructure. Oh, do I applaud this. You see, I kind of shit on the administration in the first story, and then I praise it. You see, people, you can see both sides of a coin. The Biden administration is taking a key step toward ensuring that federal dollars will support U.S. manufacturing, issuing requirements for how projects funded by the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package source their construction material. New guidance issued requires that the material purchased, whether it's for a bridge, a highway, water pipe, broadband internet, etc., be produced in the US. However, and this is kind of a big however, the rules also set up a process to waive those requirements in case there are not enough domestic producers or the material costs too much, with the goal of issuing fewer waivers over time as U.S. manufacturing capacity increases. And see, that is kind of a big wrinkle, but I like how they addressed the biggest fly in the ointment. Lafonda, you are meowing right in the microphone. Oh, you know, do you? So the first waiver process makes sense. If there's just not enough domestic producers for a project, whether it be steel or iron or whatever, well, then yes, you have to get it from somewhere. But then the second part, it costing too much, that I think is too flim-flam. There's too much leeway with that. But then they addressed it by saying, but the goal is we're going to try to issue fewer waivers over time as the U.S. manufacturing capacity increases. And that's what you want. That is what you want. So you get more shit, you sell it to the government at cheaper prices. It's going to drive down us buying it from overseas, more jobs created, and you're going to do less and less of these waivers till ultimately you can't waive. My hope, anyway. There are going to be additional opportunities for good jobs in the manufacturing sector, said Celeste Drake, director of Made in America at the White House Office of Management and Budget. President Joe Biden hopes to create more jobs, ease supply chain strains, and reduce the reliance on China and other nations with interests that diverge from America's. Love it, love it, love it. While inflation is at a 40-year high ahead of the midterms, he's betting that more domestic production will ultimately reduce price pressure to blunt Republican attacks that his $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package initially triggered higher prices. From day one, every action I've taken to rebuild our economy has been guided by one principle: made in America, Biden said Thursday in North Carolina. Oh, well, yeah, you see, I applaud Biden. You got to go to those red states and talk to them. It takes a federal government that doesn't just give lip service to buying American, but actually takes action. I agree. Again, I applaud Biden on this. One of the few things that I continually talk good and positive about the Biden administration is they're buying domestic for manufacturing or anything really. Biden said that the roughly $700 billion the government devoted annually to procuring goods is supposed to prioritize U.S. supplies, but regulations going back to the 1930s have either been watered down or applied in ways that masked the use of foreign imports. The administration could not say what percentage of construction material for existing infrastructure projects is U.S. made, even though the federal government is already spending $350 billion on construction this year. I don't know where you live, people, but I'm seeing construction pop up everywhere. The new guidelines would enable government officials to know how many dollars go to U.S. workers and factories. Tucked into the bipartisan infrastructure package that became law last November was a requirement that starting on May 14th, none of the funds allocated to federal agencies for projects may be spent unless all of the iron, steel, and manufactured products and construction materials used in the project are produced in the U.S. The guidance includes 3 standards for these requirements to be waived. Oh, I already read this. Would be inconsistent with the public interest. That's hazy as fuck. If the needed materials aren't produced in sufficient reasonably available quantities, or if U.S. material increases the project cost by more than 25%. They didn't give me that third one up top. American manufacturers are about 170,000 jobs short of the 12.8 million factory jobs held in 2019, as manufacturing jobs began to decline before the pandemic even began. But the U.S. has 6.9 million fewer manufacturing jobs compared with the 1979 peak, a loss caused by outsourcing and automation. Getting more industrial jobs will likely mean adding more factories and assembly lines, as manufacturers are operating at a 78.7% capacity, which the Federal Reserve notes is above the historic average. Oh my God, Lafonda. You're killing me here. You gotta chill. You're driving me nuts here. Although the people like you. In fact, I think they like you more than they like me. All right, come back then. You're right. Give you what the people want. But yeah, I can't applaud this any more than I already have. I think Biden is doing great in this regard. I don't think it's going to save his ass during the midterms, but every little bit helps. And I like how we're focusing on building parts of the country up where historically the Democrats have fucked them over. I'm sorry, but the TPP and the North Atlantic trade deal, and oh my God, any trade deal we've done with Canada or Mexico or China or Europe, basically any trade deal that took manufacturing jobs away from us has been killing us. The Democrats have lost that part of the country, a lot of them for good. And the Republicans talk a lot about it, but they don't really do fucking shit either. But the people in the heartland tend to believe the Republicans because they weren't the ones that fucked them over, even though they kind of did and are anti-union, which unions made those kind of jobs great. But anyway, I digress. The fact remains, this is all good news. And speaking of Republicans, I have to give them credit where credit is due. You see, people, I praise Democrats, I praise Republicans, I mostly praise progressives. So you know what? It's good to be well-rounded, okay? Republicans hail a proposal to impose committee term limits on both parties. Shocker that the Democrats don't like this. A proposal by House Republicans to add term limits for committee chairs and ranking members to House rules if they win back control of the chamber is getting some enthusiastic support from GOP lawmakers with a side of hesitation. House GOP is considering such a change, which would block several senior Democrats from keeping their top committee spots next year and force other Democrats out of coveted top slots. I guess it's a little dirty, but hey, Republicans know how to play the game, okay? They're just better at it than the Democrats. The House Republican Conference already has a long-time internal rule that prohibits members from serving more than 3 consecutive terms as a ranking member or a chair of a committee. But the House Democrat Caucus does not limit how long a lawmaker may serve in those roles on a panel. So that is why the Democrats are frothing at the mouth in rage. It's because they like to be dinosaurs. Look how long Pelosi's been there. Look how long Schumer's been there. I mean, look how long some of that leadership in the Democratic Party has been around. Way too long. And I got to give the Republicans credit. They have term limits on these committees. They can only be on there 3 times, and that is it. That's good. It gets you kind of have a revolving door. That way you cycle through new ideas and it doesn't get stale. Unfortunately, it's the Republicans doing it, and so their ideas don't get stale. They get less humane, they get more sexist, more racist, more homophobic. But again, the idea is good. It's just who's doing it's the problem. The proposal won praise from Representative Tim Burchett from Tennessee, who backs legislation to amend the Constitution to impose term limits on all members of Congress. Well, I don't know anything about this Tim Burchett, but I dig that legislation. Putting term limits on committee leadership ensures that we're putting the best players in these powerful positions every single term. Could not agree more. Republicans have been doing this for years. Again, I applaud you. That's great. But Democrats have been content to hand these roles to whichever members have been in Washington the longest. Very true. Very true. A GOP lawmaker who did not want to be identified heard about the proposal for first time on Monday morning and said that the House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has not discussed the idea with the conference yet. My own view, and I suspect the view of many rank and file members, is that it would be a very good idea. As a general premise, we conservatives believe in merit-based leadership appointments and not seniority, the lawmaker said. If adopted, such a rule would prompt a wave of committee leadership turnover among Democrats, some of whom have served as their party's top leaders on powerful panels for decades, plural decades. That's disgusting. Representative Nydia Velázquez of New York has led Democrats on the House Small Business Committee since 1998. Jesus Christ, some of my listeners weren't even born then. While House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Benny Thompson has held his party's top spot on that panel since 2005. Crazy. Representative Adam Smith of Washington, hey, I voted for that jabroni, rose to being the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee in 2005. But, some are not convinced that such a move is in the best interest of the GOP conference. It's a good way to get back at bad actors like Benny Thompson, who definitely earned it, but I don't see why we'd want less stale and overbearing Democrat leadership. The rule mismatch is one reason GOP leaders are younger and more responsive. Younger and newer House Democrats have long expressed discontent about a lack of term limits for the party's top officials on committees, arguing that the current system provides few opportunities for advancement and prevents new ideas from being injected into policymaking. Whoever said that is a genius, because I could not have said it better. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said in 2018 that she was sympathetic to those concerns. Oh, I'm sure. If you could even feel emotions anymore, Pelosi, I doubt sympathy would be one. It's a good rule. We don't want Democrats to have better rules, the GOP aide said. A rule change could also be a way for Republicans to play hardball with Democrats in response to stripping Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar of their committee assignments. Well, do we really want to have traitors on the committees? Come on. Greene was kicked off the House Budget and Education and Labor Committee. Education? I don't think she had been educated a day in her life. Over her past incendiary remarks and social media activity that appeared to endorse violence against Democrats that included liking a comment calling for Pelosi's assassination. Gosar was removed after he posted an animated video that depicted him killing Representative AOC. Oh my God. When the Democrats voted to remove Republican members from committees, they pierced the veil and justified Republican members who want to make sure everybody's abiding by the same rules next year. Well, yeah, but you don't see any Democrats posting on social media of killing Greene or Bobbert or Gosar, which, hey, deservedly so. Maybe that's why I'm not elected. So, my opinion is, this is all good. I'm for term limits at every level of Congress. You can't keep these fucking dinosaurs on the same committee chairs for decades. It is insane. It is insane. And the Republicans are right. And if you're a Democrat, even if you are a diehard anti-Trumper, anti-Republican, LGBTQ, Antifa, Marxist, socialist, whatever, you have to understand. You have to have a little bit of common sense here and think, yeah, it's not a good thing that one person has held the same committee chair appointment since the 90s or the mid-2000s. That can't be good, especially in an environment like Congress when you do want young, fresh ideas coming in, because those are the people of this country that are voting, young and fresh with new ideas. As the old ideas die from COVID and go away to Boomerville, you need to have people that represent those people that got elected. That's all I'm saying. So it makes sense. The Democrats should get ahead of this and impose their own limits before the inevitable collapse of the Democrat-controlled Congress. But with that, we have a few more quick stories to read here. So let's finish this up. A judge's decision to let an effort to block Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from running for office proceeded could open a new avenue of attack against some of the GOP's most controversial lawmakers. So this is a story that I thought was related to the previous one. In terms of the term limits for committee chairs, since the Republicans were talking about, this is how we're going to get our revenge for stripping committee chair positions from Gosar and Greene. Well, this is related to Greene. So a judge ruled that an effort to block Taylor Greene from running for office again on the ballot could proceed, which was kind of a shocker. Experts say it remains to be seen what the result of the single decision will be, but it's unlikely such an effort will knock Greene or any other candidate off the ballot. It could, however, give Democrats another opportunity to hit the GOP over the January 6th insurrection and force lawmakers to testify under oath. Meanwhile, Republicans are warning the effort could backfire in the future. While many said they were surprised the effort got the green light, some Republicans are accusing the Obama-appointed judge, Amy Totenberg, of holding liberal leanings that have politicized the process. The judge is incredibly liberal, so it doesn't surprise me that she would do that, but I was very surprised they even let the thing go through, said Jay Williams, a Georgia-based Republican strategist. Totenberg's decision means that Marjorie Taylor Greene will be called to testify on Friday. Oh shit, that's tomorrow. Making her the first member of Congress to testify under oath about the January 6th attack on the Capitol. The challenge, which was filed by the group Free Speech for the People on behalf of a group of Georgia voters last month with the Georgian Secretary of State's office, accuses the Congresswoman of helping to facilitate the riot, which they say violates a provision of the 14th Amendment and makes her ineligible to run for re-election. The amendment says no one can serve in Congress who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same. It was ratified after the Civil War in an effort to prevent lawmakers who had fought for the Confederacy from coming back to Congress. Marjorie Taylor Greene filed a lawsuit earlier this month requesting that the judge declared the law voters were using to challenge her eligibility for the ballot unconstitutional and block Georgia officials from using it. Lawrence Tribe, a professor of constitutional law, emeritus at Harvard Law School, argued that the case against Greene was well-crafted and is helped by what he called incontrovertible factual evidence of her role in the attack. Having taken an oath of allegiance to our Constitution, she acted in coordination with co-conspirators close to the defeated President Trump to overthrow the 2020 presidential election and reverse its results, Tribe told The Hill. By the way, this is where I'm getting at The Hill. That the result she sought wasn't achieved is irrelevant. Here is a paradigm case for adjudication of permanent disqualification from ever again holding public office. Other legal and political experts are questioning whether the effort will even advance to the next step. I guess it's possible, but I certainly wouldn't want to bet the farm on it, says Charles Bullock, a professor at the University of Georgia School of Public and International Affairs. There's no history of this, and if there is, you'd have to go back to the late 1860s. However, the idea has been floated in recent history in regard to other figures. Some Democrats, constitutional scholars, and pro-democracy advocates quietly explored how the 14th Amendment could disqualify former President Trump from holding public office again due to his role in the attack of the Capitol. And then it goes into a whole thing about the 14th Amendment. But on the surface, I love it. I don't think any Republican who cheered on the insurrection, who supported it, and who still talks about President Trump actually being the president should not be eligible for re-election. I don't think that's a hot take. I would like to hope that the voters of whatever state they're from would realize that and do the right thing. But I have faith in humanity, but not that much. And even though it sounds like by that story that the odds of it actually being achieving its goal, which is keeping her from being able to run for re-election, are slim to none, I still think it does set a good precedent, and I like the idea that she has to go into Congress and talk about her role in the insurrection. I don't think she's going to say much. She probably will just take, what is the amendment? I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. Oh, Dave Chappelle. How I missed that show. She could do that, or she could use it as a chance to just spew out more of her hateful, racist, Islamophobic rhetoric. Nothing surprises me with that hyena jackal cunt. But again, I like the precedent that this sets. And moving on to real quickly, we're going to wrap up news here. Another Starbucks has voted to unionize. This one is a roastery in Seattle. Workers at a second Starbucks location in Seattle voted 38 to 27 to unionize its flagship roastery. The move is part of a surge in unionization efforts across the nation, with recent wins by both Amazon and Starbucks workers. I also got to give a shout out to Verizon. Verizon workers are unionizing, so amazing, amazing. It's the 26th Starbucks store and second U.S. roastery to unionize. These wins may wind up spurring union growth around the country after decades of decline at a time when a tight labor market is empowering workers in ways that once seemed impossible. Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz earlier this month said that the company is being assaulted in many ways by the threat of unionization. In fact, I played that for you. But since I brought it up quickly, let me just bring up Verizon Union. Did they actually? Yeah, they did. Okay, this is from Fox Business. Verizon stores in Washington State vote to join union. Awesome, so I wasn't wrong. And lastly, this was so inevitable. I foresee this happening. Most non-biased critics saw it coming as well. However, drip a little bit of booze on the ground for your homies. CNN streaming service CNN Plus shutting down a month after launch. CNN is shutting down CNN Plus less than a month after its launch. A spectacular flameout for a venture that had attracted stars like Chris Wallace and Allison Roman and was seen as a way to attract a new generation of news consumers. Oh, it's almost like younger people fucking hate the news. Amazing that the media that has lied to us and has divided us for so long suddenly realizes, oh, I may not be a good thing. Could we be the baddies? It started March 29th, shortly before CNN was taken over by new corporate parents. The new leaders of Warner Brothers Discovery quickly let it be known they considered CNN Plus an ill-conceived idea. The subscription-based service will be shut down at the end of April. Executives said some CNN Plus programming and employees will be absorbed into the television network and website, but there will be layoffs. The head of CNN Plus, Andrew Morse, is leaving the company. In a memo to employees on Thursday, incoming CNN chief executive Chris Licht, said consumers wanted simplicity and an all-in service rather than standalone offering. Discovery had previously suggested that it wanted to merge the new company's separate streaming services, which included Disney Plus and HBO Max, into a single app. But again, this has everything to do with younger generations' disbelief, distrust in the media. And how could we not? I don't think I'm that special in my understanding of it all. And yes, even though I did go to university for media relations, media studies, and journalism, so I do believe I have a leg up in some respect and deciphering the nonsense and the manic that is mass media these days. However, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, I don't know anybody that watches those three that is under the age of 50. I just don't. And people over the age of 50 usually are not using apps on their phone that doesn't include Candy Crush, Angry Birds, or just casino games. That every other person that's using apps from my generation, for the most part, and below. And we fucking hate CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, you name it. I believe my generation has been accepting of the new media. I know I've played a lot of new media on this podcast. Usually it's Breaking Points or Kyle Kalinske or what's the other jabroni's name? Usually Wasager. It doesn't matter. You get my point here. There's other avenues that the old dinosaurs still haven't figured out how to monetize yet. And God help us if they do. I am still under the belief that we need a fairness doctrine to be put back into the media. We had it for a long time. And then that dirtbag cunt, Ronald Reagan, got rid of it. And Bill Clinton finally put the stake in its heart. But we need another one. And I could go into detail about how we can fix the current state of news, journalistic reporting and whatnot. I have plenty of ideas, but now's not the time. Lafonda, for the love of God. Do you want me to just leave the room and you can record and say whatever you want? What do you want to talk about, huh? The rising prices of catnip? Get out of here. But with that, I think we're done with the news. So let's move on to the Batman and some other fun stuff. It was quite the surprise when I found out that the Batman was going to be streaming on HBO Max on the 18th of April. And I thought, did that movie come out less than like 2 months ago? And there's been a movie that I know got released over a year ago, and it still isn't streaming. The new James Bond movie. I still haven't seen No Time to Die. So I don't know what the fucking holdup there is. Whereas the Batman gets released fucking early 2022, and it's already streaming. Anyway, the old man segment's done now. Let me actually talk about the Batman. Second time around, the movie is still excellent. Still, I would still say top 3, top 2 Batman movies of all time. Although seeing it for the second time, not in IMAX, not in a movie theater with my buddies, not drunk and high, just a little bit high. And I actually had to watch it in 2 viewings because I forgot how long that movie was. So I watched the first 2 hours and then I saw the remaining hour the night after. So, second time around, I still think the movie deserves an A. Although watching it a second time, it's not a Dark Knight. To me, it's pretty apparent that it's still Dark Knight 1 and then the Batman and then Batman Returns. However, Batman Returns nostalgia, I think it's a tie with the Batman. Some things I picked up the second time around, there was a few lines of dialogue that made me cringe pretty bad. Predominantly Zoe Kravitz, and speaking of her, she is so like anger inducing attractive. Like it makes me angry how hot she is. Like I look at her and I think sexual thoughts for a millisecond and then it's just intense rage because I think how dare genetics do that to one person and then give so many just the fucking doldrums of attractiveness. Like one person gets like somehow they score 25 out of 10, whereas there's like millions of people that if they just had a little bit of that Zoe Kravitz sprinkled, then they wouldn't look like a hunchback of Notre Dame. You know what I'm saying? But instead, you have one person who looks like not even human. She looks like an Egyptian goddess. Like if I opened up a textbook and there was a picture of what we think Cleopatra or Egyptian goddesses look like back in the day, it would depict a Zoe Kravitz. Like she looks like a goddess. If I ever meet her in person, how I'm not gonna just bow down and flagellate myself at her feet. I don't know how that's not gonna happen. I don't know how every man, woman, and child, and most animals don't do that when they come upon Zoe Kravitz. I mean, god damn it, she's hot. Like, hot isn't even a good word to describe Zoe Kravitz. She's ungodly attractive. Like, if I ever see God, I'm going to punch him in his face, or her, I'm woke, and say, how dare you make Zoe Kravitz so hot, so special, so attractive, so smoking, and then you create millions and millions of just elephant men and elephant women. It's not fair. Again, Zoe Kravitz proves there is no God. Well, at least if there is a God, he's not a loving or just God. She got too much. Too many got too little. God damn Zoe Kravitz. But anyway, my point about that is that some of her acting was pretty shitty in it. Not every scene, but the beginning of the movie, she was a pretty bad actress. But as the movie went on, she got a little better. But again, she did not get cast primarily for her acting, obviously. And I will say, even Robert Pattinson's little deadpan, kind of emo shtick kind of wore thin in the beginning. But again, as the movie went on, it mellowed out. It wasn't that bad. I don't think Andy Serkis got his due. He is a much better actor. So, in my opinion, he deserved more screen time. But the praises that I had for the Batman are still true. I mean, Paul Dano is still amazing in it. I still think he deserves at least a Best Supporting Actor nomination. Colin Farrell was excellent as Oz or the Penguin. Jeffrey Wright as Gordon was even better the second time around. Who else? John Turturro as Falcone. That was one of the areas where the movie kind of got bogged down a little bit, but it was important to the plot. I get it. And if anything, I almost wish the Batman was two movies that you could have made. You could have made a 5-hour movie and done it right, and done it kind of like the Matrix style and the Lord of the Rings style. You film movies 1 and 2 at the same time and then release them within a couple months of each other. I think that would have been excellent, because that's one thing that, and I don't think I'm speaking out of context here or out of, I'm not saying things out of school here, but most people love Batman. And I think most people that love Batman will watch 2 Batman movies that are in this style of the Batman. They will make so much money. But what do I know? I'm only a consumer of such things. Barry Keoghan as the Joker. I am very excited for what happens with that character. Even the actress who played the mayor, Jamie Lawson. I don't know who she is, but she was pretty good in it. So all in all, I still think the movie holds up. And there were some other minor ones, but those are the ones that come to the top. But still, they're like nitpick, hair thin critiques. Overall, I still give the movie an A minus, maybe an A if I'm in a good mood. Dark Knight is probably is one of the few movies I would ever give an A plus to, which is, if it's not perfect, the flaws in the critiques are so minor that they're not even worth talking about. and that was almost the Batman. Although I do think there are some major critiques that bring it down a little bit, which is the length. But again, it didn't feel that long. But there was some scenes that maybe were a couple seconds or a minute too long. So I wasn't thinking anything drastic because the movie's almost exactly 3 hours. I think they probably could have cut out at least 10 to 15 minutes. And that's being kind because I like a long, drawn out movie when it's done well. If you haven't watched it, it's free now on HBO. You don't have an excuse. And I'll tell you about a movie that I'm super excited for. Well, two movies. One is The Northmen, and that's coming out relatively soon, if I'm not mistaken. When's that mofo going to get released? Come on, I have it up here. Does it not tell me? Okay, April 22nd. Oh shit, that's today. Woo! Maybe I'll see it today. The Northmen is directed by Robert Eggers, and you may be thinking to yourself, where have I heard that name before? Well, Robert Eggers has directed The Witch and The Lighthouse. So if you are a kind of a movie buff, you kind of hold yourself in high esteem as a cinematic, what is that called? When you are an aficionado of movies. Well, I guess I just said it. If you think that you're an aficionado of cinema, check out The Witch and The Lighthouse. Trick question, you're not a movie buff if you haven't seen those movies. The Lighthouse is an amazing film. The Witch, very slow burn, but also pretty damn good. So if you like those two movies, The Lighthouse and The Witch, Robert Eggers is directing a new movie called The Northman that's got an all-star cast. Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Klaus Bang, Ethan Hawke, Anya Taylor-Joy. Oh my God. She's not as hot as Zoe Kravitz, but Anya Taylor-Joy is right there. Willem Dafoe is in it. And there's a bunch of Scandinavian actors that I'm not entirely sure who they are. But that makes sense because the movie is about Scandinavians. From visionary director Robert Eggers comes The Northman, an action-filled epic that follows a young Viking prince on his quest to avenge his father's murder. Watch the trailer. If your dick doesn't get hard and your panties don't get wet, then I don't consider you a aficionado of cinema. I just don't. This movie looks very exciting, and if the reviews mean anything to you, it's getting some pretty good reviews so far. It's a little over 2 hours, which I dig, and I'm just super excited about it. Hopefully I see it with my buds here soon, since it did just come out. The other movie that it's finally dropped a trailer after years of waiting is the new Thor Love and Thunder movie, Thor 4. Now, I am trying a different approach here. I am not going to watch the trailer at all for this movie. I don't think I've been excited about a Marvel movie like I am for Thor Love and Thunder. Well, I am pretty damn excited for the new Doctor Strange movie, so maybe I'll take that statement back. But I think if I had to choose one, even though I'm super, super, super excited for the Doctor Strange sequel, I love the Thor character ever since the Marvel kind of rejuvenated his character. I like how that, what's that New Zealand director that I fucking love? I mean, I've seen all of his movies. Oh, son of a bitch. All right, hold on. Taika Waititi. I like all the movies I've seen him in, a director and actor. But one thing that I've done my entire life is obsess over movie trailers that excite me. And I will even follow in-depth critiques, in-depth studying, Easter egg hunts, whatever, on trailers for big movies, particularly DC, Marvel, anything like that. The downside to that is, yeah, I get all the buildup, I get all the knowledge, I'm ready to roll, but then the movies don't get ruined. I don't want to be so dramatic, but it does kind of tamper down the emotional response you get when you first watch a movie. Because if you see a movie trailer over and over and over again, and then you watch YouTube in-depth critiques or in-depth knowledge pieces, it kind of dilutes the movie because you already know so much about it, and you can kind of predict how the movie's going to go, particularly since trailers usually give away way too much of the movie. I'm not going to watch anything about it so that when I go into the movie theater, I will be a true virgin and I will experience everything in that movie for the first time. The reason I decided to do it this way is that I started watching so much Doctor Strange stuff leading up to this new movie that I thought, well, I'm seeing so much shit that when I see it for the first time in a movie theater, it won't be as exciting. I'll just be like, yeah, get to the next thing because I've already seen this in the trailer. And when you watch a lot of YouTube videos with the backstory and where they guess things are going to go, and oh, there's Easter eggs here in the trailer, it kind of ruins other surprises. So I stopped watching all that stuff about a month and a half ago with Doctor Strange, and they have been new trailers. There has been new YouTube videos about it, and I just have cut it out. I'm trying my hardest to kind of waterboard my past Doctor Strange shit out so that it will be a totally new experience when I watch it for the first time in a couple of weeks here. Because it's not, I don't know if it's not healthy, but it's definitely, it gets tiresome because you know what to expect. You're not surprised, you're not shocked. And when the movie doesn't go exactly the way that you predicted it, sometimes you're angry that in your mind the movie was better in your mind than in actuality. So I'm trying something new with these big movies. I'm also going to do the same thing with Jurassic World. I saw the first trailer, I forget the name, and that's when I started to think, okay, I'm not going to obsess over this trailer like I am with Doctor Strange. So Jurassic World 3 and Thor 4, I'm not going to watch a goddamn thing about it until they gets released. And then I'll watch all the shit. I'll catch up. It's fine. I have no life. I can do that just fine. But yeah, the Batman, watch it. The Northman, I can't wait to watch it. Doctor Strange, Something of Madness, and Thor, Love and Thunder. I am super pumped for those movies. I love that Christian Bale is going to be the villain. And yeah, I just cannot wait. I cannot wait. But with that, let's move on to a little bit of sports. The Mariners are 7-5. That's kind of what I thought the team would be. They're a little hot, they're a little cold, but then their offense starts clicking. And then Mitch Haniger catches COVID. Like, no worries. And then we got Luis Torrens catching COVID. No worries. We have 3 catchers on the roster. But then Service catches COVID. Our bench coach catches COVID. I think a third assistant coach, I think, got COVID. I don't know. So we have all these new guys coming up. We have Christopher Negron that's going to be managing a couple games. He was our AAA coach last year, and he's also a former player. We drafted him way back when. I want to say 2013, 2012 maybe? I don't know. I say 2012, 2013, and I think, oh, that was only like 3 years ago. And then I look at what year it is, and I think, good God, I'm wasting my life. The NFL draft is a week away. I'm still seeing insane mock drafts of us selecting like Malik Willis or Desmond Ritter with a number 9 pick. Are you out of your minds? And the even worse hot takes I see is us trading DK Metcalf and the 9th pick to like Detroit Lions for their number 2 pick and a future pick or some bullshit. And you're thinking, God almighty, come on. If we haven't traded DK Metcalf yet, it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. And you see Deebo Samuel one side of San Francisco. I don't. That's kind of insane to me. But there's so many teams that were willing to trade big money for Tyreek Hill that, maybe the Jets will give him the number 10 pick, which would be crazy for Deebo Samuel. But what do I know? Maybe I don't watch enough 49er football, but I sure wouldn't do it. Well, maybe I take that back. Maybe not a top 10 pick, but I think the Jets have multiple first round picks. I don't know. There's no point talking hypotheticals, but I'm telling you, the Seattle Seahawks, for the love of God, if you're going to trade down, which I hope we do not take some wild ass player like some wide receiver or running back or tight end or, God help me, a safety in the first couple rounds. You got to be off your rocker, Pete, if that makes sense to you. For the love of all the Seahawks gods, please draft a offensive tackle, pass rusher, and then if with your third, second round pick, go ahead. Take best player available. I hope it's not a quarterback. Maybe it's a corner. Maybe it's a linebacker. Maybe, God help me, it's another offensive or defensive lineman. We need multiple players at those positions. So please, Pete and John, don't do this to me. Don't turn this franchise into like the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Houston Texans or, oh my God, the Cincinnati Bengals before Joe Burrow. It's like you have all these first round picks and you just stuck with with this mindset of, are we rebuilding or are we reloading? Are we retooling? You can, whatever adjective you want to use. But the point is, you have to make up your mind. And so far into free agency and a week away from the draft, it sure looks like this team is retooling. It's definitely not rebuilding. We've signed some players in their mid-30s, which you just don't do when you rebuild. And we're not trading away other stars like DK Metcalf and Jordan Brooks, which would be what a rebuilding team does. They take the best players available, turn them into as many draft picks as possible, and do the rebuild from the ground up. That's not what we're doing either. Reloading implies we don't have to tweak much, and we're only 1 or 2 players away, possibly 3 players away from winning the division and a deep playoff run. We're definitely not there. We're more than 3 to 4 players away from contending for a deep playoff run. I mean, right off the bat, offensive line, defensive line, multiple players in those positions already. Plus, did I mention a quarterback? But anyway, what do I know? I'm just a what do they call it? A couch coach. But you know what? I have managed teams, okay? I've been a fantasy football manager for over a decade. I kind of know what I'm doing, okay? Christ. And before I close out here, I got to tell you a little experience I had this afternoon wanting a latte at my favorite place out here in Auburn/Covington. I'm not going to name names because this place is not going to look good in my story. In the past, however, the place is well worth the trip. You usually have to wait a little while for your latte or coffee, drink, and food because it is a small business. They usually only have 3 to 4 people working at a time, and the place is always, always, always packed. It's interesting because it's packed primarily with foreigners, primarily like Persians, Arabs, or Eastern Europeans. I hear a lot of what I think is Russian or Ukrainian or Moldovan, but I'm not sure. I can't tell. But it's good for eye candy because most of the people in there are hot AF. Even some of the men I could be persuaded. And yeah, I'm just a big fan of that place. They know my coffee drink by heart. I usually get a breakfast croissant when I go there. They have the dankest macaroons. I could keep singing its praises. And I will. The coffee's excellent. The coffee brand is excellent. Everything is good. However, the downside is you usually have to wait about 10 minutes to get your drink. If you order food, it's another 15. So you really have to plan it out accordingly. It is next door to Trader Joe's. So what I usually do is I go in there, I order what I want, then I go shopping, and then I come back, and usually it's ready to roll. Because I don't mind waiting, but why wait if you don't have to? Well, this afternoon, I walked up to the place, and there was a line basically to the entrance. And I thought, fuck this. I'm not going to wait in line 20 minutes and then wait another 10 minutes for my coffee and foodage. So I left. I did my grocery shopping next door at TJ's. Bought a really cool Venus flytrap. I hope it makes it. I have not had the best luck in the past with carnivorous plants. I think maybe that's good and bad. That means I don't have a lot of insects flying around the house, but it's bad because they die, and I hate plants dying. But anyway, did my shopping, and I went back to the coffee shop, and the line was down, but there was 3 girls in front of me. They were speaking whatever Orc Eastern European language they have. But it seemed like they were just looking down at the menu and kind of ignoring that there was a person behind them. And after the first couple of minutes, a third person got behind them because someone got behind me. And then it dawned on me that these 3 huas have no idea what they want to order. They're just looking at the menu. And I was about to say something. I was about to walk up and say, hey, ladies, I already know what I want to order. Can I just jump ahead and put my order in? I wanted to say, hey, bitches, have you looked around? I don't know what country you're from, and this is America. But no, I didn't want to be that white racist, nationalistic cunt. So I bit my tongue. I wish I would have said something. Just it's just a kindness. It's just, it's just like a social contract. If I'm in line, I'm constantly looking at the menu so that when I get to the front, I know what I want. And if I don't, I will usually go to the side and let someone in back of me order. I'll tell them, oh, go ahead, I'm not ready yet. And everyone says thank you. I feel like I make people's days. These little small gestures go a long way in today's society. And then when I am ready, I kind of just go back in line, do my order, and I move on. No one has ever said, you can't cut back in line, you have to wait in the back. That's never happened in the entire history of me doing this. So I kind of expect other people to do the same thing. Now, these women are maybe from a different culture, I have no idea. But another downside is they were very unattractive. And if they were attractive, I may have let it slide a little bit. But when you're ugly and rude, I just can't take it. So it's actually a credit to my humility and a credit to my character that I didn't cause a scene. So anyway, once the three ladies knew what they wanted to order, they then ordered and paid individually. So that was another 5 to 7 minutes. And I was already getting pissed that I had to wait in line for these three hooas to figure out what they wanted to order. So I finally get up there and I start to say, I'll take a 12-ounce lot. She interrupts me and says, oh, I'm so sorry. Our coffee machine isn't working. And that's when I kind of lost it. I said, Christ, I was in line for 15 minutes. I know, I'm sorry. And then I just, fuck it. I grabbed my shit and I turned to leave. But by then, the line behind me had gotten so long that there was like a grouping of people just hanging around the entrance. Again, all young, Eastern European, kind of soulless eye people. And they weren't moving. And so I literally had to almost walk up and chest bump a complete stranger and said, excuse me, can you get away from the door, please? And then he looked at me like I was a fucking cunt. Then he kind of shuffled over and I still had to like squeeze by these people. And I just thought, I can take one of these instances happening at a coffee shop, but not three. I can take slow, rude people in front of me. I can take a coffee machine not working after I wait in line. And I can understand people blocking an entrance because the place is packed. I can understand one of those things happening. But when all three of them happen at the same place, at the same time, I do not remember being this outraged and angry at complete strangers in a long time. So I will say again, it is a credit to me that I did not swing at anybody. I didn't pull a racist card out of my hat. I didn't say something sexist. I was just cool, calm, and collected to the outsiders. But just know, people, internally, I was just swinging away at these punks. Because, again, social contracts. Don't block the entrance. Don't make people wait in line if you don't have to. And if your coffee machine ain't working, put a sign out there by the entrance. Or when people walk in and you greet them, say, hey, just so you know, our coffee machine isn't working today. Sorry. That way you don't have jabronis like me waiting in line 10 to 15 minutes. And then you tell them and he loses his shit a little bit and drops a Christ. That's all I want. Human decency. Is that asking too much? Huh? The Angelo of old would have blown up, would have said something to everybody, and would have stomped through the entrance and gone to my car and probably backed in and hit somebody. But progress, baby, progress. And lastly, before we close up here, this story literally just came out. Representative Adam Kinzinger, a Republican from Illinois, from the House, has already said he's not going to run for re-election because it's fucking awful being a Republican in the House right now. Talked about the leaked Kevin McCarthy audio tape talking about that Trump may need to get impeached and he may need to be kicked out of the party. And of course, McCarthy already spoke to Trump, probably threw himself on the feet of the king and apologized. But Representative Adam Kinzinger, who really sounds like he's going to run third party, or he's going to try to run under the Republican ticket, and he already knows he's going to fall on his sword. He's not going to go anywhere. He's going to get trounced, slaughtered, but at least he's going to make a point. Representative Adam Kinzinger, a member of the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th riot at the Capitol, said audio of House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy bashing former President Trump shows that the GOP leaders think their voters are dumb. In the audio, McCarthy tells colleagues he's had it with Trump and the days after the January 6th attack, and that the former president was responsible in part for the January 6th event overall. McCarthy later reversed course and has continued to support the former president because he's spineless coward. On Thursday, he said reporting by the New York Times over some of his remarks were false before the audio of him making the comments was released. Wow. McCarthy literally today said this was a lie, and just a few hours later, the tape with his voice from his mouth proves that was a lie. Incredible. GOP leadership ought to be ashamed. Republicans, your leaders think you are dumb. Let's be done with him. I can't say his fucking name. Kinzinger tweeted. The Illinois lawmaker is one of the two Republicans on the January 6th panel investigating the attack and frequently criticizes his leader. Kinzinger is not running for re-election. Well, maybe he should run as a governor or something, because we need cool-headed, to an extent, Republicans. Because you may think, well, this Kinzinger shows that not all Republicans are Trumpers. True. But you look at Kinzinger's, you know what, I can't say this jabroni's name. When you look at Kinzinger's, fucking, you know what I'm trying to say, voting record under Trump, he still voted along party lines, along Trump lines, really, 80% of the time. So even though he may disagree with Trump 25% of the time, he still does whatever the party wants the other percent. So he's not exactly a hero, but you're going to hear Democrats, you're going to hear CNN, MSNBC, those idiots, you're going to hear them praising this Kinzinger guy because he every now and then goes against Trump and the Republican leadership. But just know, it doesn't tell the whole story. But with that, I think we can wrap up here. I hope you all take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Treat others as you want to be treated. Don't be a cunt. And yeah, peace out, bitches. See you guys around the bend.